It's a crazy thing about MMA. Between the fact that there's a fight card pretty much every week with no off season and that plans that are set months in advance are constantly changing from week to week because of injuries, failed drug tests, and what have you, I find we never get a chance to sit back and assess what's been happening recently in our sport. I feel like we are just always caught up in this whirlwind of information, and the output of news and data is so high and never ending that it's hard to sit back and make an observation about how the sport has been doing lately. So that's why, for this week, I'm choosing to speak about the first quarter of 2018 for the UFC. There are only 2 events in the month of March, so we're finally getting a bit of a break in the action compared to how things have been in this day and age. The last time there were just 2 UFC events in a month was in May of 2017, so I think it's a good time to take a look back at the beginning of this year. At first glance, when reflecting, I feel like it's been a slow start. Don't get me wrong, with the roster size of the UFCs and the amount of events that have been put off, there have been plenty of really great fights taking place. But in terms of shows having that big event feel where the anticipation and the build-up is really fun and exciting, I feel like we've yet to get that so far in 2018. Miocic and Ngannou was awesome though. There was a lot of intrigue and enthusiasm going into that one, and that fight was absolutely fantastic and totally lived up to the hype and was a complete success overall. For me, it was right on the cusp of having that major event, big fight feel to it, but was just shy of being a fight that I found myself counting down the days to. Romero vs. Rockhold was a wild tilt with a crazy emphatic finish, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. You cannot go wrong with squaring 2 elite talents off against each other ever. It's always going to be extremely entertaining, but again, another one of those fights where you find yourself just realizing that it's happening the week of the bout. No doubt that it's a product of the fact that there are so many events in the run of the year, but I think you get my drift. Aside from those 2 pay-per-view headliners, the only other headliner was for this quarter was Cyborg laying a beating on that poor Russian girl. There were a couple of good fight nights mixed in there, but aside from that, nothing overly memorable has taken place. This is interesting because it's a huge year for the UFC. The Fox deal ends this year, and rumor has it that there's a high probability that the promotion will be signing with a different platform. Much like before the Fertitta sold the UFC, the promotion is about to come into a transitional phase where major negotiations are taking place, leading to a big change. So you have to expect that they're looking to stack the deck in the coming months to get that stock up high and an attempt to obtain some leverage. And they're starting off the second quarter off very well when UFC 223 is headlined by Tony Ferguson and Khabib with the co-main of Joanna vs. Thug Rose 2. I believe that card will have that big event feel I was alluding to earlier. The fact that there's a 3-week break between cards leading into that event bodes well. But the first 3 months of 2018 have been kind of dull. I suppose this is also coming from a place of probably being spoiled. Being a hardcore fight fan, there's a steady influx of stimulation we are dealing with, and like anything else, it has its peaks and valleys. There are only so many fighters out there that are capable of being in a big fight. But it's at times like these when I take some time to reflect on the recent happenings that it makes me realize how valuable John Jones, Brock Lesnar, Nate Diaz, Nick Diaz, or GSP would be right now. It would be amazing if either of those guys were to make a return. Fingers crossed. Let's see what this next quarter has in store.